Welcome to Confidence Rockstar podcast, a place where you will find inspiration, motivation, and, let's say, kick in the bottom to take action and create the life of your dreams. I'm your host, Alex Grzybek, and I'll help you quiet that little voice inside your head saying, "You can't do this." So you have the courage to go for what you've always wanted on your terms. Every week, I'll bring you some confidence golden nuggets, present an awesome interview in order to empower you to step up your game. It's time to choose happy and shine. It's time to become a confidence rockstar. Let's dive deep. Hi everyone, it's Alex Grzybek here, founder of Confidence Rockstar podcast, and I'm your host today. And today I have a special guest joining me from Alicante in Spain right now, Florencia Zulberti. And let me tell you a little bit more about Florencia and what we will be talking about today, because this episode is absolutely amazing and I cannot wait to actually dive into conversation with Florencia. So we will be talking today about regaining confidence in your kitchen. Yes, so we haven't spoken about it during the podcast episode yet, but it's very, very important. So regaining confidence in your kitchen with strategies to make healthy, simple meals with ease and full of flavor. I know many people in the world, they have no idea how to do it. And this lady will teach you how to do that. And why her? Why Florencia? All right, so let me tell you a little bit about her. So Florencia, she is a founder and chef of Tribusana. She called Kenya her home for more than 16 years. And she got Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Health in Canada and Master of Public Health in United States. So she's been in international public health for over 20 years. And recently in Spain, she studied to be a professional chef, and she has been working with the most prestigious wellness clinics in the world. So she has very, very international experience, as you can hear. And also, on top of that, she's a nomad on a mission, how she likes to call herself. She would like to basically bring people together at home to turn their kitchen into their favorite playground. And she also would like to show people and change the mindset of people that their health is in their own hands, not in the hands of doctors, pharmaceutical companies, and all the sugary factories and all this mass business that we have out there, and who really care more about profits than our health. So this is her. So welcome, Florencia. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's such a privilege.
All right. So I told a lot about you, but I would like to kind of dig deeper. So, I'm familiar with Tribusana, but of course our listeners are not. So I would like you to tell us, how did you come up with the name Tribusana? What is Tribusana? How did you come up with it? What is it?
Well, like you mentioned, I grew up in Kenya. So I lived for a brief period with the Maasai. And I really got to see hands-on what it takes, the whole African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. I saw it firsthand because there they share, children have more than one mom in those tribes. And so I really realized that we can keep our kids in a bubble and trying to eat healthy at home. But at the end of the day, we need to expose them because they're hardwired to socialize. So we need to start, I guess the word would be to incentivize or inspire other families and family members, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, to understand that children need to socialize more towards how we used to eat when our parents were around, or great grandparents, as opposed to today where we're really socializing them and rewarding them with a lot of sugar, which is highly addictive. And so for me, the whole concept of tribu is sort of like making selected family members, but also really dear friends, to become part of that tribe where we really want to inspire our children to grow with healthier eating habits so that they can actually outlive us and not be what is unfortunately scientifically today proven, that the younger generations will live shorter lives than their parents because they're being socialized around really terrible food, fast food, sugary, refined, processed. And so they're developing chronic diseases at much earlier ages than what we were used to seeing. So that's the concept of Tribusana, is like, how do we go against the current? The current right now is to go to fast food, to go to convenience food, to go towards processed, towards foods that, you know, when they're processed, we no longer have the fiber, we no longer have the variety that we need. And so therefore, we are really eating chronic diseases into our system as opposed to health. And food can be our medicine, but a lot of us don't realize that investing in high quality food is actually the most economical medical investment than if you eat fast food and then you develop a chronic disease, because that's going to be more expensive in the long run when it comes to hospital visits, doctor appointments, medicines, and you know, that road we know. So Tribusana is all about making people become aware of how our quality of life is really in our hands, and only 5% of cancers are based on genetics. 95% of them are actually based on our lifestyle. So I want to sort of ring that alarm with Tribusana and make families return to the kitchen. There's more than 2 or 3 generations within families that no longer know how to cook at home, no longer know what ingredients grow according to the seasons. They no longer know how to shop so that they can incorporate whole grains, not white rice, brown rice, you know, more legumes, more seeds, more. There's an interesting article, which I actually mentioned on our website, tribusana.com, where in 2017, the Lancet, which is a British medical journal, very pristine, said that in 2017, 1 out of 5 deaths was being caused not by what people were eating, but by what they were not eating, which is vegetables, legumes, whole grains, seeds, lots and lots of different dried fruits. So there's this whole going back to eating how our ancestors ate, which is what we're trying to promote, and also encourage confidence in the kitchen, because when you haven't been taught to be in the kitchen for more than 2 or 3 generations, it's almost like the kitchen becomes this strange kind of place in the household that nobody really knows what to do with. And so our mission is to bring that confidence back into the kitchen and give you strategies on how to get better organized, because it's not about recipes. I insist, it's not about recipes. It's about getting organized, because if you don't plan, you're planning to fail. So if you want to organize yourself, your freezer, your refrigerator, your pantry, so you have a lot of healthy options, you can pull off a really healthy meal in a matter of minutes and prepare the next meal, like without even thinking. You can do like a quinoa, but do twice as much quinoa, and then you have that leftover quinoa in your refrigerator that you can just throw into a soup, throw into a salad, throw into a burger, vegetable with beans, burger, patty, and you've got another amazing meal. So that's what Tribusana is really about.
I love it. You know what? And what you mentioned, it actually got me thinking, and I have been thinking about it like for a long time, because why is it that, nowadays we have access to all information out there? Yes, I mean, like our grandparents, they didn't have access to internet, online, I mean, forums, libraries, like this kind of stuff. And we have everything at the fingerprint. I mean, just type in Google and you have access to everything. We also, like, financially have much more right now. So we have access to everything. And we know a lot, we have access to a lot, yet we are going to live shorter if we don't go back to the basics. So with that, I just want to ask you, I mean, based on your studies, your experience, your work with people, and how you work with people, of individuals and schools and children right now, I mean, why is that? What's the biggest challenge that people turn this kitchen into a stranger? Why people can't cook? Why, knowing that going to fast food is not healthy, why they still do it?
I think it's convenience. I think people have lost a sense of priority in terms of time. Like I'm a strong believer that why are we outsourcing our health and our nutrition to convenient food, fast food, and then we spend so much time on different platforms, social media, screens, this, that, and the other, when what's the heart of a family? The heart of the family is dialogue. And so for me, if we can turn cooking healthy at home into a real family project, which means going to the supermarkets together and telling the kids, okay, go out into the local markets. I actually don't enjoy so much supermarkets because supermarkets confuse us. They have pineapple all year round. Well, pineapple is supposed to be eaten when it's really hot and tropic outside. So we need to go back to just eating what is local. So Mother Nature is super, super wise. It produces where we live the things that we're supposed to be eating. So if going to supermarkets creates a distraction, then just go to local markets on Wednesdays or Sundays when they happen in wherever it is your destination where you live, and just buy what local farmers are producing according to the season, and invest that time in doing it, because not only are you creating like a family project, like you're not only living an incredible legacy to your children, because you're empowering them with the skill set of knowing how to cook and how to feed themselves according to the seasons, but you're also building a dialogue. And that's a dialogue that used to happen. Like, I don't know about you, but I have memories of visiting my grandmother, and all the interactions around the family was in the kitchen. And we've lost that. And so I think we consciously have to bring that back. Like 2 to 3 hours of the day should be spent cooking and dialoguing and figuring out how was your day. I always say that moment should be like airplane mode. Like, people should just put away the screens unless you're trying to follow a recipe, which is great if you're, if it's something new for you and you want to try something new. But when you're trying a new recipe, I also like to mention that you got to cook it often enough within a short period of time for it to become incorporated into your being. And then you don't have to look at the recipe anymore. Because I think a lot of people also get turned off by cooking when they look at recipes and they look at measuring cups and is it a teaspoon, is it a US cup or a UK cup, and that just demotivates people. So our recipes are actually based more like, we give you one recipe and then we show you how to turn that same exact recipe into like 4 or 5 different recipes. So you're not learning, 30 recipes, you're learning 10, but you're turning them into 30 recipes. So it becomes easier. And that's what our grandparents and our great-grandparents used to know. Like, they didn't follow recipes. They just knew that in order to savor, legumes, you started with a meripois. A meripois is just seasoning, which is, a little bit of leek, onions, garlic, a little bit of carrot, a little bit of celery, and you stir that at first, and then you bring in the legumes, and then you start cooking them, and that already has a lot of flavor. So a lot of people also think that eating more vegetables is really boring because they don't have a lot of flavor. Well, we season our meats. Why are we not seasoning our vegetables? We also need to season them for them to have a lot of flavor, but also keeping the temperatures low, because when you cook a broccoli, boil it, for example, in water for 10 minutes, it's not going to taste very good. And none of the nutrients are going to be there because you killed them all with, you know, the high temperatures. So it's a little bit of like, let's go back to basics. Remember our grandparents, how they used to cook things at low temperatures for a long period of time? Why are we not doing that today? So it's that need to go fast that we are trying to challenge. It's that need to sort of say, hey, wait, let's regain, let's turn our kitchen into our favorite playground, and let's spend time in the kitchen together as a family. And I think that is what makes a family healthy again.
I absolutely love what you said, and just want to kind of grab, like, you know, one thing, because I know a lot of people, you said, like, for example, like, we should be cooking, we should be spending in the kitchen like 3 hours a day. Yeah, some people will be, oh my God, I don't have like 3 hours, and they just shut down. They don't want to, like, you know, they're like, okay, so in order to live healthy, I need to spend like 3 hours in the kitchen. Okay, that's it. No, and I know that this is, I know that this is not what you meant. And I know you, like, personally, and what you said late. Well, first of all, it comes down to priorities, yes, as you said. But secondly, I know how you work with your clients. I know how you help them get organized, and how you teach them, like, you know, your recipes. So if you can tell us, like, I don't know, maybe quickly, like, just 3 tips on how to regain this confidence in the kitchen, and that you actually want to go there, and that it doesn't take so much time.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I always say is, let's change our mindset. Like, let's not plan our meals by, like, what do we want to eat? Fish, chicken, or meat. Like that already, we're starting on a wrong foot, because we're eating way too much animal protein. And I think it's great. I'm not a fundamentalist, so I believe that we should be eating a very varied menu. But let's reserve the chicken, the meat, the fish for special occasions or once a week. And let's just do soak. What do we want to soak? The night before, right? So what legume, what whole grain do we want to soak? Because that's going to cut the cooking time by half. And that's also going to remove some of the side effects that a lot of people always mention when they're eating legumes, that, oh no, they kind of make me gassy. Well, just soak them for 24 hours, because that removes a little outer shell that's called the anti-nutrient, which does, unfortunately, it's kind of like a sugary substance that does cause gas. But the more you soak it, the more you remove it. And you take that water and you pour it onto your plants, because it has a lot of nutrients still. And you add new water so that you can remove that. Now, when you're cooking a recipe, of course, don't just think of that recipe. Like, if the recipe asks for example, like quinoa burgers with beetroot, cook twice the amount of quinoa. And that quinoa, half of it, you can just store in your fridge, and the next morning, you just add a little bit of apple, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of oat milk or almond milk or soy milk, a little bit of raisins, and you make this beautiful porridge in no time at all, while you're getting ready for breakfast. And you start your day with a really wholesome, balanced energy. And that's a simple trick that I like to mention for people. Like, also, when you go to the local markets and you come home on a Sunday, that's the day that I normally sort of designate as the day that I spend the most amount of time in the kitchen, because it's the day where the family is kind of together and we're cooking together, probably some chicken or some steak on the grill or whatever. But in the meantime, as I'm cutting up my vegetables and storing them in boxes so that they're very easily ready for me to use, I will use any of the stems or any of the leaves. I stick them in a large pot with water and I make a vegetable stock. So we're not throwing away those nutrients into our trash, but we're actually making sure that we incorporate them when we make a risotto, when we make a stew, when we make a soup. Instead of just adding water, you can add those ingredients, those nutrients back into your food. And so it actually, it's sort of like you need to do a little bit of prep work, maybe 1 day a week, and then you can pull off. Because if you have, quinoa already cooked in your refrigerator, all you have to do is saute some vegetables, throw some quinoa in there, and you've got a really healthy meal in less than 10 minutes. So you're right, Alex, it's not about every day 3 hours, but maybe 1 day a week, you make the extra effort to organize yourself so that you have enough. And the quinoa, going back to the quinoa, you can also freeze it, right? In Ziploc bags, you take out the air, freeze it, and then you know that if you put it under warm water for 5 minutes, it defrosts, and voila, you've got cooked quinoa for whatever preparation, whether it's your burgers, your salad, to throw it onto your soup to make it even healthier. So it's really about making people become more aware. I think the world of vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, once you embrace it, you realize that there's no limits to how many combinations you can mix together. And the more they're whole, as opposed to like white rice refortified. Like, I have no idea why anybody would ever buy that, because it just means that it's a rice that has been stripped away of all its goodness, and then the food industry has incorporated part of it chemically into the, just buy brown rice and be done with it. Soak it overnight. It's gonna cook in half the time, and you're getting all the goodness of something that grew without having any processing whatsoever to it.
Absolutely. I really like the way how you simplify things. Because as you said, like, a lot of people, they are overwhelmed and they think that like the healthy diet is time consuming, expensive, difficult, complex, and you make it so easy. So, like for anybody like watching us and listening to this podcast, I just want to tell you that like Florencia, she has like, the free granola recipe that you can download from her website. Just go to tribusana.com and you can choose either English or Spanish version. You have like little flags in the corner, and she has like the granola recipe that you can download for free. And this granola recipe, you can turn into 5 or 6 different things. And I know it firsthand because, she made like granola, you make cookies, you make like toppings, and it's freaking delicious. And it's only one recipe. So, everybody go and grab it. And this is how you make it happen. It is about like, simplifying everything. That's why I love like, seeing what you are doing and like, working with you, and like people who you work with, they benefit so much because you are opening their eyes that it's not expensive, not complex, not difficult, not time consuming.
Exactly. And more than anything, it's about embracing color back into our diets, because one of the things that we learned during COVID with my 2 kids is how do you explain, immune system to children, right? It's a complex phenomenon, but what we did is that we drew castles, and I sort of mentioned, for the soldiers inside the castle to be strong, they need to eat all the colors of the rainbow, because every color in Mother Nature actually tells us of a very specific nutrient that is going to give us health. So we associated red with our heart. We associated orange with our eyesight, which is true. Anything that has orange has beta-carotene, which turns into vitamin A, which is actually really good for our eyesight. And anything that's blue or purples, like, blueberries, blackberries, red cabbage, it actually has so many antioxidants that they're actually really good for our memory. And it is true. So I base all of my teachings in a way on science, because for me, it's very important to the internet is full of information, but a lot of it is misinformation. And I think that is what makes people struggle, because one day they hear that eggs are bad, the next day they hear that eggs are good, or one day they hear that pepper is bad, and then the next day, if you want to maximize the assimilation of turmeric into your system, you have to add black pepper to the mix, and also a fatty substance, like coconut oil, so that our bodies can assimilate. Because sometimes I think we also think we're eating healthy, but we're not, right? Because of all that misinformation. And so I just strongly recommend people to just think about what were our great grandparents eating, and if it didn't exist then, don't eat it. That's like the number one easy rule. Like, if it didn't exist then, it's been processed, it's been refined, it's been produced by the food industry, and we just want to go back to basics. We just want to eat the broccoli. We don't want to eat the supplement that says broccoli. We want to eat the whole broccoli, because also when we start eating fiber, it regulates us. And so for a lot of people who want to lose weight, just eating fiber is going to do the trick, because you can't eat 5 broccolis, in a single meal. You're going to get full because of all the fiber and all the good nutrients that come with broccoli. And so you're going to be satisfied for a longer period of time than when you eat something that's refined or processed that has no fiber, and therefore within half an hour to an hour, you want to eat again. So it is an amazing journey to turn your way of eating as a lifestyle. I don't believe in diets that have a beginning and an end. I think this is all about a journey. And so that's why I talk about my 5 pillars of health, which is, try to buy as much as you can organic, try to cook at low temperatures to retain the ingredients and the nutrients really in the ingredients. And then, be mindful of where you cook, because there's very toxic cookware out there, which people are not aware of, like anything that's non-stick, you probably don't want to use in your kitchen. Then surround yourself with people that really want to embrace healthier eating habits, because otherwise this journey can be very lonesome. If you're the only agent in your family who's trying to change the way you socialize around food, everybody looks at you like, oh my goodness, you're being so difficult. But no, the difficult part is then having to deal with disease. The easy part is realizing that our health is in our control. And so you want to, and this is why in Tribusana, there is a package for friends to book classes where they can learn to cook together and organize their kitchens and create meals together in such an easy way that are full of flavor, but it's also bringing health into their lives. And I'm thinking in Spanish, animando, they're embracing and supporting each other along the journey. So that's the fun part of it. And then the last pillar that I always say is make sure that every action is sustainable, because what's sitting on your plate is the world. So if an avocado was flown all the way from some other country on the other side of the world, why is it on your plate? You don't want that, because it probably doesn't have as much nutrients as something that was locally produced and was caught off the plant like in the last 2 or 3 days, as opposed to something that maybe was cut off from the plant 2 weeks ago and it's sitting on your plate. And that's where also, in telling people sometimes frozen berries might actually have more nutrients than fresh berries out of season. Mm-hmm. And it's a much more economical way of incorporating berries, because berries are so good for us. They're full of antioxidants so that they can fight the free radicals in our body so they don't turn into cancer cells. And so incorporating berries into your porridge, into your jams, making your homemade jams, all you have to do is, put berries in a pot with a little bit, if you want to sweeten it up, put a date or 2 in it and just boil it, simmer it for a little while, and you've got this beautiful jam that has no chemicals, no preservatives, and you can use it over the course of 2 weeks, and it's full of deliciousness, and you've made it at home.
I love what you are saying and how you make people aware of that. It's not about learning new strategies. It's about coming back to basics, which is very simple and it makes sense. And don't buy into all this, what's going on in the world, that you need to eat sugar, you need to drink, I don't know, milk to be big or whatever. I mean, coming back to basics. And you kind of started saying about it, but I would like to touch on this as well, because you were saying about like losing weight, and people are connecting like food, of course, with like, you know, losing weight or gaining weight, depending what you would like to do. But like, tell us a little bit more. Is there any connection, of course, between other areas of our life when it comes to food and business and money and relationships and everything? Yes, I mean, is there any connection? Because some people are like, oh, whatever, you know, I don't have to be healthy, which is not true. But, you know, maybe people are like, oh, I'm too busy, I don't know, making money, so I will eat McDonald's every day and I'll be fine.
No. I see. And again, it's going back to like, we're outsourcing our health, right, to fast food and convenience food. And we think that it's so hard to carry on a healthy lifestyle and way of eating at home. And of course, you can be very healthy in the way you eat, but you also have to know how to manage stress. You also have to know how to manage sleep. You have to also know how to manage exercise. So it's a combination. And I think, unfortunately, today, and I think COVID for me really rang through as a real wake-up call, because it forced us to spend some time at home. And I don't know about you, but I'm a mom of two little kids, and I used to overbook our weekends to such an extent that it was so stressful. Like, I almost was yearning for Mondays to come around again so that we can go back into a routine, because my weekends were just like this madness of me chauffeuring my kids from one birthday to another activity to this, that, and the other. And I think we need to create what I call white spaces with our kids, with our family, and with ourselves, where we can pick up a book and read it, and just, put all our, tell our friends, tell your friends, I'm going on airplane mode 2 hours a day. From this hour to this hour, I am unreachable, because I'm spending quality time with me. And it's a challenge as a mom. I know I'm still struggling to try to figure that out myself, but I think it's important. And just like I was saying, like, we need to prioritize. We eat 3 times a day. Why are we not spending the equivalent of like 30 minutes, 10 minutes per meal to organize ourselves and prepare those foods so that we can eat them at home together as a family and have that dialogue and regain that sense of, I'm in control of my life? Like, we need to stop, I think overbooking ourselves is the term, and start regaining, sort of saying no is important. Like, no to sugar. Like, I think one of the, what breaks my heart are birthday parties, because it's just a huge sugar fest for kids. And often my little trick there, which I tell parents, is like, feed your kids as much as you can healthy stuff, like, bread with avocado and lentil sprouts or hummus with carrots and cucumbers, so that they arrive at birthday parties so full that they're just not going to eat or touch all that sweetness that's being exposed to them. So a little bit, Tribusana is about like making yourself more mindful about how to cook healthy at home, but also be mindful about how to spend your time. Where do we want to spend our time? Why are we not spending more time in our kitchen or with our kids or with our family members, doing the things that we know are going to bring the best health to ourselves and the best quality of life to ourselves? And that's where I often say, like, I think we're on a very a train that's on high speed, about to crash onto the wall of collision, and that wall is disease. Most often we do not change our lifestyles until some member of our family has crashed into the wall of a chronic disease. And so I challenge you to get off that train. Take a moment, pause, and say, no, I'm going to step away, and I'm going to go back to the way our great-grandparents ate. That's it.
Yes, I agree. It is very, very important. And it gets me like thinking that very often when you ask people what are your most important values, like 90% of like the population, like, will mention health in the top 3. But then when you look at their lifestyle, I mean, how they prioritize, they don't eat well, they do not exercise, they do not sleep well, they do not manage stress. So like really health is at the bottom of the list. Yeah. And it has to be, I mean, if you would like to live long, and if you would like to have a vibrant life, if you would like to be able to, I don't know, play with your kids in the playground, you just cannot afford not to look after yourself. And what you mentioned is like basically teaching our children, because, children see, children do. And by looking like at your children, how you program them from the early ages, it is possible. And this is like, I love what you always say, that, children are not resistant to change.
No, it's the adults. Children are not resistant to change. And what's amazing also, and I love to mention, is our taste buds are the cell in our body that rejuvenates the quickest in our entire body. So every 14 days, we have new taste buds. So that means that if your child today does not eat broccoli, just keep feeding them different varieties of broccoli. Like, don't just always boil it. Like, sometimes roast it in the oven or saute it with something else. And they might start acquiring, they will start acquiring a taste for it. And eventually they're going to love it, because everything about food, when it's flavored, and you know this, when you eat a bad piece of fish, you're put off fish entirely, but it was one time. So I always say, like, try it at least 10 times. Like, don't say, oh, tried it once, didn't like it. No. Like, let's try doing it in many different formats, so that we can really assess whether we like it or don't like it, or whether we repeat it or don't repeat it or whatever, and actually have an allergy to it. But you can't just say no. Like, we have to try. And health, to be honest, I think that white space is probably the most important thing we can cultivate in our day-to-day, so that we can center ourselves. So that, and my white space sometimes is while I'm cooking, because I'm so comfortable with cooking that becomes my white space. It doesn't mean that you just sit in a corner and just stare at a wall. No. It's doing something that gives you peace and harmony and comfort. And that's our mission with Tribusana, is giving you the tools and the strategies so that you can be in peace and harmony in your own kitchen, and it can become fun. And you know that at the end of the day, you're dialoguing, you're laughing, you're trying new things. Some things go well, some things don't go well, but it's all part of the journey. But as long as it's fun, it's all good. And as long as it's away from, processed, refined, and sugary, and if you want to reward your children, please don't do it with food, and don't do it with sugar. Reward them by saying, the day the weekend comes, we're going to go for a bike ride. Children, their biggest reward is for you to spend time with them. That's it. That's what they want, right? So why are we giving them sweets when we know that sugar is actually more addictive than cocaine, 8 times more addictive than cocaine? And so now that the holiday season is about approaching us, one of my biggest missions is to try to help families socialize around healthier food. I'm not saying get rid of old traditional recipes, but let's look at the ingredients. Because we can substitute some of them with really good healthy options. And so that's my goal right now, is to help families navigate the holiday season without so much sugar and without so much of the unhealthy stuff as a way to be together as a family.
I love it. I like what you are talking about is like so close to my heart as well, because I've been like very active since childhood, and our family is generally very active. As you can see the medals on the wall, yes. Actually, yes. One is like my husband, one is mine. But like, I mean, I've been like very, very mindful about like healthy eating as well. But like your knowledge, your expertise, and how you make things simple is so valuable. And I do know that people who work with you, they benefit like so much. People who attend your workshop, I mean, children love it as well, and they remember, because you have the skill of simplifying things and like teaching people to make it really easy and healthy. And as we said, like regaining confidence in your kitchen with strategies to make healthy, simple meals and full with ease and full of flavor. So I know that we can go on and on and on, but at the moment, I would like you to tell us, like, I mean, how people can connect with you, how you can help them on their journey, because I am sure that people who are watching us and listening to this podcast episode, they want to learn how to navigate, for example, holiday season without sugar, how to start. I mean, so tell us, like, what you do, what kind of offers you've got in order to help people, how people can connect with you.
Well, they can go to my website and they can book a 15-minute conversation with me. And so I can understand where they are in their journey. So I can understand how to, what would be the first steps that I would encourage them to do. For me, fundamentally, is getting better organized in the kitchen. Knowing which, plan B, C, D you can store in your freezer, so you can whip up a really super simple meal very quickly. And we're coming off from Halloween, where, in our urbanization, we organized a big sort of Halloween get together with all the trick-or-treating of the kids. And I actually sent everybody sort of, photos of ideas. You can actually dress up a tangerine like a pumpkin, and that can be the trick-or-treat as opposed to sweets. Or you can slice sweet potato and dress it up with black olives and put spiders on it with a little bit of cheese on top, so it looks like a web. And now for Christmas, it's coming on, you can stuff pumpkins. So instead of like a stuffed turkey, you can actually do like a stuffed pumpkin with all the goodness of whole grains, and slice that as like like a main meal, or have some sides where you use kale and you saute it with a little bit of garlic and nutmeg, because nutmeg actually really brings out the flavors of dark leafy vegetables. So there's all these little tricks. The point is if your table does not have healthy options, nobody's gonna try healthy options. So the point is to bring in those new dishes or alter old recipes with, white sweet potato instead of putting cream, to thicken up a soup. Pumpkin soup right now is in season. Well, don't thicken it up with cream. Thicken it up with a little bit of sweet potato. And you're bringing in more nutrients, and you're bringing more health into your bodies. So there's lots and lots of tricks on how to do it. And the same goes with, kids love to snack. Well, if you have big bowls of fruits lying around the house and big jars of nuts lying around the house, and they get hungry, what do you think they're going to grab? They're going to grab that piece of fruit. They're going to grab those nuts, because nuts are actually really, really yummy. But if they only see candy canes and big bowls of sweets, that's what they're going to grab. And then they're going to feel terrible afterwards. And then you're going to have like a hyperactive child to deal with, which we don't want, right? You're a mom, I'm a mom. We don't want that. So it really is. And there are a lot of recipes that, for example, today you can do brownies, you can do muffins, with, sweet potato or lentils mixed in, and the kids don't even notice the difference, and you're packing it with nutrients.
I love it. I know that people, as you said, people can work with you like in different ways depending where they are. And I do believe that it's amazing because you do have like on your website tailor-made packages. But I do believe that for people will be amazing to have like, free 15-minute consultation with you to see where you are and how you can really tailor the offer for them and help them move forward. I cannot stress enough how important this episode is and how important our health is and how you are like the perfect people to go with on this journey. Yes. So for anybody listening, Florencia, of course, she speaks fluently in English, but she also does work with people in Spanish. So if anybody is interested in like Spanish consultation, she does it as well. The website is in Spanish and in English. So all the show notes to this, all the links to Florencia, like her website, her social media, will be in the show notes of this episode. And please do reach out to her, grab your free granola recipe from her website that you can turn into 6 different things, which is amazing. And follow this lady on social media. So because she has a really, really big mission and she's up for a big goal. So watch her. She will be doing webinars, workshops soon. And, she can really help you regain confidence in your kitchen and turn it into the family favorite playground. Thank you so much, Florencia, for being my guest. Thank you for all your wisdom, skills, expertise. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Alex. I'm on a mission, and all the help in raising people's awareness that we need to empower our children with the skill sets of healthy eating habits so that they can go off into the world without any chronic disease. Because quality of life is not is in our control. It's not lost to old age. Like a lot of people think old age is synonymous with chronic diseases and poor mobility. No, it's not. It really isn't. And so I want to thank you for letting me spread this knowledge. But more than anything, I think it's something that everybody has always known, right? Our health is in our hands. For some reason, we lost concept of it. And now it's just raising people's awareness that it really, just eat the broccoli. Don't eat it in a capsule or whatever. Just eat what Mother Nature is producing for us according to season and locally.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Florencia. It's been a pleasure. And I do believe that, people will benefit from this episode, big time. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. If you do have any questions, just put the comment under the video or in the podcast. And we are looking forward to seeing you, inside Tribusana. And also you can listen to other Confidence Rockstar podcast episodes. So speak to you very, very shortly. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
To get started on your confidence journey, I invite you to grab free 5-day email course, Confidence Rockstar. You will get 5 daily lessons sent directly to your mailbox, so you will have access to them anytime you like. You can grab this gift on the website alexgrzybek.com/5 days. All of the links to this episode you will find in the show notes below. And one more thing. I want to invite you to my personal website, alexgrzybek.com, where you'll find other podcast episodes and more of the free resources to help you on your confidence journey. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next episode.